Hello everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns with another tabletop video review for you. Now keep in mind I have already done my field test shooting video for this BB gun. I'll call it a gun because it's potentially a rifle, it's a pistol, it's a whole bunch of things in between. This is the Umarex Morph 3X BB gun. We'll just call it a gun because it's so hard to really classify this guy as anything in particular. That said, it's not even really a replica of anything that I can think of, as it can be converted into a pistol, a rifle, and again, some other options in between, which I will show you as many options as I can kind of figure out and see how many versions this gun can be made into. It's definitely more than 3, and I believe it's called the 3X because Umarex feels it has 3 configurations. Again, I think it has more than that. Now we're going to stay wide like this while I go through the specifications, then I'm going to show you the configurations, and then I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can show you each kind of piece on its own a little closer up and in more detail. But let's get into the specifications right now. This is a mostly plastic air gun with some metal internal parts. It uses a single 12-gram CO2 cartridge. It shoots 4.5mm steel BBs. It has a 30-round spring-fed internal magazine. This gun weighs in at about 2.5 pounds. I believe that's with everything. Now I'm not sure because this barrel here, this barrel extension, doesn't have the inner barrel, then the Canadianized version may come in a little lighter, and I'll get more into what the Canadian version is and how it's different from the US version further up in this video. This gun has a 12-inch non-rifled barrel. This gun has a double action only trigger. It shoots up to 490 FPS. And it does have front and back fiber optic non-adjustable sights. This airgun is also made in Taiwan. Alright, so here's the box. Okay, now this is the front of the box. That's Umarex's kind of like idea of what this gun can be configured into. We have some specifications: 490 FPS, 30 rounds, 12 gram CO2, steel BB, fiber optic sights. Okay, there's the main gun there. You can see what it kind of looks like. On the back, much of the same, but then we have some parts listings here. It's got a little breakdown of the parts. It says 3 air guns in one, but again, I think we're going to find that it's actually more than that. Now, I did want to mention something here. I think I was a little bit off. So we have here caliber .177, 4.5, steel BB only, fiber optic sights, smoothbore barrel, velocity 490. Rifle overall barrel length is 38.5 inches. Now, rifle barrel length is 12 inches. Rifle weight is 2.5 inches, sorry, 2.5 pounds, but I think it's a little lighter because it doesn't have that internal barrel, and even the US version quotes it at being 2.5 pounds. Now, it says that the pistol overall length is 11.5 inches and the barrel length is 4.5, so it's a little bit off. For some reason I said 12 inches, but that's actually that would be how long the internal barrel would be if the rifled barrel had the internal barrel. Okay, so you're only really shooting with a 4.5 inch barrel with this gun, again, because the rifled barrel, or the rifled barrel is in fact hollow and the BB just passes through it with the Canada version. And I will explain it right after I put this box down because I might as well get that out of the way. So pistol weight is only 1.5 pounds. Again, ammo capacity 30, right? 12 grams CO2. Of course, all of these guys come with a manual of sorts, right? So you can see how to use this gun, the safety, trigger, you know, the stock, all the different components, right? You'll see here different information. Okay, now there is something interesting. I'll just zoom in here. There is a velocity screw, and I didn't mention this in my shooting video because I wasn't aware of it, but there is a velocity screw to detune or increase the FPS. Now, when I shot this gun, it was set to max. So just so you know that with my field test shooting video that I've already done, so I've got information about that, I can share with you how it performed. But in that video, I was able to get some pretty high FPS, and that velocity screw was set to max, just so you know. Okay. All right. Some more information. Just all the same stuff you find in all the manuals. All right, let's get into why this gun's a little different than the US version. The US version has a maximum FPS of 600, and that's with the add-on rifle barrel. So when this barrel is attached, you're going to get a longer barrel, which increases the FPS, okay? So instead of being 4.5 inches, you're going to get a 12-inch internal barrel. I'll show you this piece a little bit later, but you'll notice that it's basically hollow inside and the BB just passes through. The reason for that is because here in Canada, 600 FPS is considered too fast. At least that's kind of what the whole thing's about. Alright, let's move on to the rest of the review. We're going to look at all the different parts to this gun. So this is the full configuration, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of tear it down a little bit and figure out how many configurations we can make with this gun, okay? So there's configuration 1. If I take the barrel out, right? Actually, you know what? I could take the stock off and just have basically the pistol grip and the barrel, so that's configuration 2. So here's 1, or here's configuration 3 with the barrel off and with this on. So I could take this off and make this basically configuration 4. The next thing I can do is pull this right off, right? So now we have configuration 5, and then if I take the basically the stock off again, I have configuration 6. So I can see 6 different configurations. I can actually see more, because if I wanted to, I could even do this, right? I could screw this part on here. So I could screw this on and make a 7th version, and then take the stock off and make an 8th version of this gun. So there's so many different possibilities. At least there's a minimum here of 8 configurations. You know, what configuration you want to use is up to you. I think that there's a lot you can do. Now, I want to show you this real quick while I've got the camera zoomed out. You'll notice that there's no barrel coming out of here. With the US version, there's going to be an inner barrel that comes out to meet the 4.5 inch barrel here, right? And that extends the barrel to 12 inches. But you'll notice here, see how big that opening is? The BB just passes through, okay? It just goes right through this hollow barrel. Hopefully you can, I want to focus a little bit there. It's just a hollow barrel, okay? Right. All right, now that we have this gun, there's a couple more parts here that I want to show you actually. This is the pistol grip that basically goes where this piece would be, right? And then we also have this fiber optic sight, which I'm kind of a little afraid will get lost, because you have to take it off when you're putting this on. So many ways of doing this, because you'll notice that this basically has to go inside there, and so you have to take the fiber optic sight off. So let's look at some of these parts. You've seen this already. This is basically the pistol grip cover, okay? And you've seen the fiber optic sight. We've kind of seen the barrel. What I'm going to do is zoom my camera in now, because it's a little hard. It wants to focus on the table, which is far away. So I'm going to zoom the camera in a little bit and get right back to you. Alright, this is a little easier. I'm a little closer in here now. So let's take a look at this barrel real quick. Okay, you can see it's got this sort of, you know, barrel shroud there. Looks almost like a little AR cover there, right? And again, this is the backside. Notice there's a little O-ring there. That's to seal it off. If it did have that little piece that came out, the extension inner barrel, that would be more important. Not so important right now. Let's take a look at this stock here. So this stock allows you to have just a top accessory rail, okay? And then you got your fiber optic sight there, right? Okay, it's all plastic, and that's just sort of the front foregrip area, the grip, front grip. Then we have our rear stock. Okay, it's nice, you know, it's pretty decent. It's pretty well made. All the plastic's pretty good on here. And then the most important part, of course, is the actual gun. So we're really going to quickly look at it. Okay, and so there's your fiber optic sight in the front. There's your Picatinny rail. Fiber optic sight in the back. This basically comes off. If I could get it off, I'll show you later. You have your magazine right here, 30 BBs, okay? And then you've got your Morph, Umarex Morph 3X. You've got your rear or under Picatinny rail. So in pistol mode, what's nice about it is you could put like an actual pistol grip on here if you wanted to. That'd be cool. And you know, since the extension barrel doesn't really do much in terms of FPS, you might want to just keep that off. So there's your CO2 screw, right? Alright, I wanted to show you that a little bit. So that's where your CO2 goes, right? There's no BBs in here. Just pop it back on. Okay, it's like that. Trigger. A little bit long, but not too bad. Okay, there's your safety. Some more information, warning instructions. Got your screws to put this gun together. That's kind of Not the nicest looking, but on a gun like this, it's not that big a deal. One thing I did want to mention, this gun with the stock on it, right? So this configuration, you know, you could put a red dot on here, and you could even put like a little tack light or something on the front, or even a tack light slash pistol grip combo. It would make a real neat backpacker, because you could take it apart, put it in your backpack. And this gun, in my testing, we'll get into that a little bit more in a bit, but I got close to 500 FPS with it, even in pistol mode. So not too bad. A lot of power, 30 rounds too, so you get lots of follow-up shots if you're using it maybe for small pest control, or small, you know, if you're out backpacking, you want to get some small game to eat, you could probably do it with this gun, because it is pretty accurate as well. Alright, I'm going to finish this video review up, talk a little bit about the performance, and then some of my pros and cons. But I wanted to show you, this is kind of my favorite version of the gun, because you get that shoulder stock rest. If I were to put a red dot on here again, it would have even better accuracy, I feel, because those red dots really help you keep it tight when you're targeting. And with the shoulder stock, you're going to have great control of where you're placing the shot with great stability. Alright, so let's talk about the shooting performance. As Umarex claims on the box, it's capable of up to 480 FPS. That's with the 4.5-inch barrel. Now it's interesting, because the US version in pistol mode is claimed to be 380 FPS. I wonder what would happen if you were to actually get the proper barrel for this gun and shoot it using the extension barrel with the inner barrel. You might even get up and over 600 FPS, but I think Umarex has kind of up-tuned this gun, because they're considering it's only going to be shot in pistol mode. Now I was able to get 480 FPS with my 5-shot string. A couple shots actually went up and over 500, some went down a little bit, but it averaged 480, and that again is in pistol mode only. And I was able to get about a 3/4 inch shot grouping at 30 feet out using a rested position. So accuracy is very good, at least out to 30 feet. And you know what, for small pest control and small game, if you're using it as a backpacker, about 30 feet out is about as far as I'd probably be using it anyways. So let's talk about some of the pros and the cons. Now this gun comes in at just under $100 here in Canada at the moment of this video being reviewed. And with that, you get, as I showed you, basically 8 different guns. If you mix and match the parts, you can get 8 different guns. Umarex says 3 main guns, but again, you know, you can really do what you want with this gun and configure it however you want. My field test shooting video showed that this gun was very powerful, even in pistol mode. One of the most powerful pistols I've ever really tested, at least in a CO2 BB gun, that is. And again, my field test shooting video showed us that this gun is very accurate, at least up to 30 feet out. I like that it has rails top and bottom for accessories, depending on the configuration. And I like that it has fiber optic sights front and back. It makes it easy to see just about any target you're shooting at. And interestingly enough, this gun actually has a velocity screw for adjusting the FPS power. Now I know most of you are going to crank it right up to full and see how powerful you can get it. But, you know, if you want to detune this gun and get more shots per CO2, if you're just plinking stuff in the backyard, you don't need that crazy power. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, in pistol form with the rear stock, you could have the two separated, throw it in your backpack, put the two together, throw a red dot on there, and you've got a real nice backpacker. I also like the 30-round internal magazine for lots of shooting fun without having to reload. And I like that this one uses 12-gram CO2 cartridges. Some of the air rifles, you know, the larger guns, they're going to the 88-gram CO2. The problem with those 88-gram CO2 cartridges is they're a little more expensive. You do get a lot more shots out of them, but they're quite pricey. They're, you know, as much as, say, $10 a cartridge, and they're a little harder to find. All right, some of the cons. It's a mostly plastic gun. That's what you get for under $100 guns. There's no inner barrel inside the rifle extension, so it's really just for show and doesn't increase the velocity at all. Now the rear sight is not adjustable, but again, you can add on a red dot or optical sight to the rail if you choose to do so. Alright, again, I want to mention I have done my field test shooting video for this gun, so check that video out. It should pop up in the video at the end here somewhere as a clickable icon. You can check it out. And again, we also have it in our Canada online airgun store over at replicairguns.ca. It is listed there. At the time of this video, it is in stock. I can't say for sure if it's always going to be in stock, but it's a pretty cool gun. Hopefully we can keep it in stock for you guys. Alright, thanks for watching another Replica Airguns video. Don't forget to subscribe. Check me out on Facebook and Twitter. Username is Replica Airguns. Also come on down to replicairguns.com where we have articles, posts, reviews, and additional photos of the products I review. So check those pictures out and my written review. You can also buy airguns over at replicairguns.ca and replicairguns.us for our Canada and US online stores, where we sell air guns, BB guns, pellet guns, airsoft guns, blank guns, knives, and other accessories. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.